Hi, I'm Dana, and I feel like absolute crap because my period started yesterday. That's how this video is gonna go. If you're not into it, don't watch. So yeah, every single month it's a surprise. And it's not because I have Clue, the app, like not the paid version. I'm not promoting anything, that's just the thing I downloaded that I keep track of it with. So like I know when it's coming up, and I also have like the physical symptoms, and yet every single month I'm like, oh shit, my period. You know, like it's a genuine horrifying surprise every single month. So I wanted to make, I think I have made a video about this, to be fair, because I got a moon cup at one point and made a whole thing about that. So I feel like we probably have talked about this, but I've been making videos for 2 years now, and I feel like I've gotten better at making them, and I also have learnt more and have more to say and different things to say. And especially I recently watched There She Goes, the TV show with Jessica Haynes. I'm never sure how to say her last name, but I love her. But her and David Tennant in the show have a daughter, Rosie, who has a chromosomal disorder. She has something going on with the chromosomes that means that she isn't diagnosed until her teen years and is sort of just said to have autistic behaviour. And in the show, when she starts her period, it comes with a lot of like big changes for her. And there's a scene where she just starts crying and they don't know why, and they figure out that it is her period. But I was like, oh, the bit every month where I get kind of like really sad and I will just cry at random TikToks, like I just become so emotional and find it so difficult to regulate my emotions and control my emotions. I don't feel like I have any control of my emotions, essentially. Like I still have control of myself. I can get myself out of a situation before having like the emotional outburst or whatever. But I find it so much more difficult to control than usual, and I get so much more sad and angry than I usually do. And it's one of those things that I think I've always been somewhat aware of and just sort of pushed to the back of my mind, because like feminism and don't say that women are angry just because they're on their period and that kind of thing. But also like we are having hormonal differences, and it's one of those things that's been like sort of stereotyped as a very negative thing, when for a lot of us it's just a thing that happens and a real life issue, you know? So every month I have probably about 8 days where I just don't feel in control of my emotions and I don't feel good about myself. Like not even necessarily good about myself, I just don't feel good about anything. Like I'm so negative about the world, and it takes so much effort for me to be my like usual self, you know? Like I've put a lot of work into like more positive thinking and being better for myself and stuff. You know, like I've been through like 4 rounds of CBT. Like I would say that on the day-to-day, I'm a pretty positive person, a pretty positive thinker, and yet there's this just whole chunk of every month where I'm like, people are the worst, no one thinks about anything, everyone's a fucking idiot, I can't stand to be around like anyone except for these like 3 safe people I know will cheer me up. And alongside that, it feels like there's just sort of a mental disruption. That's what I've written down in my notes, because it just feels like my brain isn't working in the way that it usually does, you know? Like it's still working, it's still going, I can still do stuff, but it's not the way that I would usually think about things and do things. And that makes it feel like I'm really slipping from my routine, which, being autistic, makes me really fucking anxious and really makes it feel like my life is like spiraling out of control. And it's so frustrating to have it happen every month and then like a week later be like, actually, I'm fine again now, guys. Panic over. And it's one of those things where I don't know if this is normal, you know? Like I'm aware that we have stereotypes that like I'm supposed to get angry and sad on my period, but there's a lot of things to do with my period, such as like the actual period, you know? I don't want to be like super TMI and super gross, but like there's a lot of things my body does, like even with like I have cramps in the front of my stomach right now, but all of last night, my entire back, like shoulder to ass, just really fucking hurt. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I know that some pain is normal with your period, but then other people say that you should not experience pain on your period, and that is an issue. And with like the actual flow and everything else, there's so much different information. Like I don't even think a lot of it's misinformation. It's different information, because I don't want to like focus this video purely like on women, because I'm not a woman, but I don't know like period havers. We're obviously talking about periods, but like the bodies of people who experience periods just are not properly studied like medically to know what is fully normal, as far as I can tell. I've had multiple different GPs like tell me completely different things when I've gone in with these issues, and it's one of those things that like it is an issue for me. I do think I'm feeling too much pain. I do think there's something weird about my flow. I don't think I should be experiencing these like extreme emotional disruptions during my period. But every doctor I've spoken to has said something completely different, to the point where I've been made to feel really silly and really invalidated and really like, silly little woman doesn't even know that her period's all right. And I don't want to speak to anyone about it now, and there could be something really wrong, but the information to know what's normal is not there. And if it is, I'm not understanding it as an autistic person, you know? Like, there's so many things where it should be easy to understand what's normal, and I'm like, I have no, like, bar for normal like everyone else does. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And even when I've discussed it with friends, because I luckily do have friends that are like very open about this type of thing, there's a lot of stuff where I'll be like, oh, I have that too, and they're like, yeah, I think I have this thing, and I'm like, oh, well, like, these other symptoms don't match up. So like, I do feel like there's something going on, but there's no way for me to actually figure it out. So I just have an entire chunk of my month every single month. That's horrible. For the rest of, like, not the rest of my life obviously, but until I'm like 40, for another like 15 years, maybe longer. Like, no, thank you. And that also goes into the fact that my body is doing this thing that I don't want it to do. I don't have any need for a fucking period. I'm not popping kids out. I can't stand the fuckers. Like, I would be an awful parent. I'm not going to have children. There is no reason for my body to be doing this. It makes it feel like I'm not in control of myself, like I can't control my body, like something is just happening to me for an entire week. You know, like, while I'm on my period, I wake up way earlier than I need to, way before my alarm, in an absolute panic because I'm convinced that I've like bled everywhere. And like, I know it's not that big a deal when I do, but as an autistic person with sensory issues, I now have to change my bed, I now have to shower like immediately upon waking up, otherwise I'm covered in blood, which is sticky and gross, and I don't want that. That's also a sensory no-no. But showering, also often a sensory no-no. But if I just wipe myself down with wipes, I do not feel clean. I have to shower, which is the sensory no-no. Like, it just feels like even when something minor happens that I should be able to deal with, I already don't want to have to deal with it and don't feel like I should have to deal with it and feel very out of control by having to deal with it, combined with I'm autistic and there's all these other issues, so even though it shouldn't be that big a deal, it now feels like the biggest deal in the world to me, combined with then I also have all this like emotional disruption from being on my period, so even things that aren't that bad feel way worse than they normally do. So it all combines together to just create this little ball of horrid. And you know what, I am going to get a little bit TMI here, because what is everyone else using, okay? I feel like I've tried. I know I haven't tried. I feel like I've tried everything. I currently just wear pads because they're the least anxiety inducing for me, but they're not comfortable. I don't like the way they feel. I don't feel like they do that good a job. They constantly like move around in your underwear and don't go where they actually need to be. Like, I don't feel like they work very well. And especially if the blood goes like further up or further back. No. But also, wearing tampons was a uncomfortable and anxiety inducing experience for me. I can always feel that my tampon's in. And that was another thing that I had like 3 years of trying to use tampons every month and being so fucking confused because everyone's like, well, if it's in the right place, you can't feel it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's in the right place because it stays in, it does what it's supposed to, everything's going fine. I have extreme anxiety about the toxic shock syndrome that I'm going to get because I will forget about it. And again, I can always feel that it's there because there is something inside my body, you know? Like, if you give me something to hold in my hand and I forget that it's there, I can still feel it. Like, I can always feel that a tampon is in because it is inside my body. I don't understand how I'm supposed to just magically stop feeling something that's in there, you know? And it was the same thing with the moon cup, but I kind of more so expected Diva cup, a menstrual cup, but I'm also expected to be able to feel that. But the thing is, I don't particularly want to get up close and personal with my blood. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, period blood isn't dirty, it's not gross, it's fine, it's whatever. But also, I don't want to touch my bodily fluids, you know, like any of them. I think they're all a bit gross. Like, destigmatise periods, but bodily fluids are all a bit gross. I don't want to be getting up close and personal with them. I don't want to touch them, I don't want to look at them. You know, like, I was very like, I will deal with it to be an eco queen and use a menstrual cup. But then I cannot explain to you how many times I, number one, thought it was stuck and that I was going to have to go to a hospital and be like coochie up to the world and be like, get it out for me please, Mr. Doctor Man. Terrified. Every time that happened, I cried, I sobbed. Again, it's having the emotional like dysregulation, not being able to like control my emotions, and having this thing that would already stress me out on a normal day be just 1,000 times worse than it needs to be. So I'm getting super fucking panicked about this thing that's stuck inside my body. And also, the amount of times I have dropped that fucker. The one time I thought that I was gonna like be an eco queen and wear my menstrual cup out and about and tell everyone how great it is and how, like, you know, all of that. I find like one of the little bathrooms in Costa that's your toilet and sink in one, so I can take it out and wash it and everything. I fucking dropped the entire cup. I spent so long in there cleaning up with like fucking toilet paper and everything. I don't know what they thought. I don't want to know what they thought. I left it clean. But it was a horrible thing to have to go through. I didn't like the idea of anyone else going in there after me without it being like bleach cleaned, but I also didn't want to be like, excuse me, Mr. Costa man, I just unleashed a shit ton of blood in your bathroom. Can you just go and give that a mop? You know? Like, it was so stressful and it was so much for me, and it completely destroyed like my entire fucking week. But on the other side of that, maybe this is TMI. If you don't like talk of like, you wouldn't have made it this far. Does anyone else have the thing sometimes where you've wiped, you're all good, you stand up and there's just blood? There's just blood. Like, it's just pouring out. I know I'm making this sound so dramatic, but that's literally what happens sometimes. And if I'm out, I now suddenly have like blood down my legs, blood on my pants. You know, like I am, you can tell what's gone on here kind of thing. And so like, I do feel like on my period, I can't really go anywhere. I can't really do anything on my heaviest days. And I have like 3 heaviest days and the rest of them aren't that light either. So that's where like, I usually go for a little walk every day near enough. Like, I try to leave the house once a day. And when I'm on my period, it feels like I'm preparing for a fucking war just to go for a walk around the park on my own, because otherwise I will leak and I will embarrass myself. And it's one of those things that I prepare for, so it hasn't happened in a long time, but I prepare to the point that I do because it did happen so often, you know? Like, I have had all those shitty experiences of like being at someone's house and just leaking through and getting blood on their furniture and all that kind of shit. I've stayed over at people's houses and gotten blood on their fucking bed, and everyone's always been kind about it to me, in the same way that like if someone came to my house and got fucking blood on my couch, I'd be like, it's fine, it happens. But it's also like, when you're the one in the situation, it feels really gross and humiliating. You know, like, I have a lot of issues with my exes for very valid reasons, I think, but like, my ex got blood on my couch multiple times, and like, it's one of those things, you just clean it. It's one of the things I hold like zero resentment, bitterness, like, it was completely fine and still is, because that shit just happens sometimes. But you never want it to, and it never feels good when it happens to you. You know, it's kind of nice as people can be about it. It feels like it is like preventing me from living my life for an entire quarter of each month. And I feel like in saying all of this, a lot of people are probably going to suggest that I try the pill and see if my period stops. Like, this is again where I think that some doctors don't have the information, are misinformed or whatever else, because every doctor that I've personally spoken to about the pill has been like, oh no, we don't stop your period anymore, like we don't do that, you have your period still. And I'm like, I don't have sex with men, there's no point me being on it other than not having the period, you know? And as far as I know, there's no other way of stopping it than, you know, taking the bits out. And I highly doubt I'm going to manage to get that done on the NHS as a, you know, like AFAB person in my 20s without a partner or any kids. Like, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, I feel like I did get a little bit TMI during this, but I also am an autistic person that really doesn't understand what's TMI and what boundaries are, and they're all things that I'm fine with sharing on the internet, because I don't think that we should have to be embarrassed and weirded out and grossed out by periods when they happen to so much of the population. Like, they really are just a completely normal, natural thing, and I get that, but also I fucking hate having my period, and it'd be really nice to know that some people relate, because honestly, a lot of people I know don't have periods, to be fair, but there's also a lot of them that, like, I'm sure they have their own struggles, but they seem to just get their period and just fly through it and be fine. I'm like, yeah, they do. Yeah. Like, I'm happy for them, but it ain't my experience. And if anyone's got any, like, tips or advice or anything, how do you deal with it? Please comment below. I would like to know. And I'm sure other people are in... I really hope other people are in the same kind of situation. The more followers I get, the more I'm like, God, it's going to be really embarrassing if people don't relate to this. You know, like, if like 100 people don't relate, it's sort of like, okay, it's that 100. If 6,000 people don't relate, so please let me know if you do. I'm posting videos here on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays, so if you'd like to see more of me, you can subscribe. I also post over on TikTok, Instagram and Twitter sometimes. I still don't like calling it X. If you would like to donate to me monetarily, you can head over to my Patreon or my Ko-fi, but there's never any pressure, you don't have to. It's completely fine if you haven't got the money, or if you don't want to give it to me, you don't have to. I was going to be like, I don't care. I do care. It's nice to get money, but you don't have to, is the entire point of that. I hate doing these. I fucking hate doing them. It's been like 2 years of me being like, one day I'm gonna get good at this, and I haven't. I'm not going to. We're always gonna be awkward and be like, you can send me money but you don't have to. But those and all of my social medias that aren't this will be linked down in the little bottom bar below, and I'm going to go now and try over a video of a lion eating a gazelle. Probably, I don't know. It's probably not going to be a fucking good day, okay? I hope you have a better one, whoever you are, wherever you are. I hope you have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.